Hello, listeners. Welcome back to another episode of In Full Bloom podcast with me, your host, Nicole. Thank you so much for coming back and listening to more of what I have to say. I am always so excited and so happy to have you here. And in today's episode, we are going to be talking about love, love, love. I am sure it's been on everybody's mind more in this past week than any other time in the year. The pursuit of love and relationships is one of the defining features of our 20s. A lot of focus is placed on romantic love and how to acquire it, and most importantly, how to keep it. The world of dating has always been the wild, wild west, both for me and our guest star for today's episode. And so we will be discussing the phenomenon of dating and relationships in our 20s from the perspective of a person in their early 20s, me, and a person in their early 30s, as well as answering a few questions from you guys from this week's Instagram poll. So please do stay tuned for that. And with that, I would like to introduce you guys to today's guest and the first guest of this podcast, my lovely older sister, Tamara.
Whoop, whoop. Happy to be here.
Happy to have you. So would you like to tell us a bit more about yourself? What is it that you do?
So I am a medical doctor by profession. What else would you like to know, Nicole?
A qualified babe. We love to see it. So what actually qualifies you to talk to us about love today?
Well, definitely not the medical part of my life, but definitely I would say I have experience of being a 20-year-old navigating dating. So yeah, I just feel like I have a few things to share from that perspective.
And we cannot wait to hear it. Would you also like to share a few of your interests?
What am I interested in? Well, definitely exercise. I think we share that interest.
Period. Yeah.
We started off the year good, girl. We've been exercising, trying to be consistent. But yeah, exercise. I'm also into music. Thinking of expanding my to-do list on hobbies, trying chess maybe. I don't know, being that girl. So yeah, that's my plan for this year.
We love to hear it. Nice to meet you, Tamara. Pleasure to meet you. And thank you so much for joining us today in the studio, in my bedroom. I'm usually here alone.
Yeah, my bedroom's right next to hers. So.
And with that, we would like to get into today's episode. Let's get right into it, starting off with definitions as we usually do. And the Oxford Dictionary defines intimate relationship as an interpersonal relationship that involves emotion or physical closeness between people and may include intimacy and feelings of romantic love. Intimate relationships are interdependent and the members of the relationship mutually influence each other. Oxford Dictionary also defines love as an intense feeling of deep affection. Urban Dictionary, my fave, defines love as being willing to sacrifice everything for someone else. And I honestly agree so much with these definitions. And I think we'd just like to add that love means another person's happiness has become more important to you, almost more important than your own. And essentially their happiness is now a top priority to you. How do you think you would define love, Tamara?
Thanks for those definitions, Nicole. I always love your definition portion of your podcast. I'm a big fan, by the way, of Nicole's podcasts. Yeah, big sis, big fan. So yeah, love that part. But yeah, I would define love as a full expression of consideration, care, and affection for another person.
I love that definition. Love, love, love it. And would also love to hear how you guys define love and just, in the comments of whatever listening platform you're listening on so we can just discuss it even further, because love is one of those things, the meaning of it, what it looks like is one of the things that has eluded the human race for eons and centuries. And I'm sure will continue to because it is something that is so complex. But I think a good starting point for defining love and what it means is found in 1 Corinthians chapter 13, verse 4-8. I'm sure you know how it goes. Love is patient, love is kind. And I love this verse so much because it just clears up a lot of the things and is a great starting point. And, in our 20s, it's such a time that is defined largely by the pursuit of relationships. Looking for and finding a partner by the end of this decade is of high priority to a lot of people. I mean, me included, I'll be real. And so this age group, more than other ones that have preceded it, have, put love and romantic relationships on a bit of a pedestal. And because of that, I think it's very important that we discuss what it is, especially in this week of love. It's the running theme. What else would I be talking about? And so with that, Tamara and I will just be deep diving into this topic today of love and mainly discussing some key factors that we feel are important in the journey of finding it, hopefully to guide us and you guys in finding the perfect mate and keeping them. We will also give a rundown of a few tips on how to navigate this journey towards the end of the episode. And the main body of this episode will consist of Tamara and I each sharing 3 points. And for me and you guys, gaining wisdom from the wealth of wisdom that is someone who has actually dated in their 20s, and from me who has, dibble dabbled in this arena. And with that, Tamara, would you like to introduce us to your first point?
Well, after saying wealth of wisdom, I mean, happy to share. Yeah, so my first point would be, I believe that your core values need to be the same between you and your partner. So, I know what it's like, right? You find a cute guy, you find a cute girl, they're attractive, you start talking, seems like you get along, they're funny. You're laughing at the same things. In other words, you have great chemistry. What I've described is essentially the basis that most of us get into relationships, right? He's funny, she's cute, he's great, he's tall, ladies.
He's tall. Yeah.
But he's tall apple. Yeah, double clicking on that. But yeah, while that's all important, I'm going to share my first point being, the three, what I like to call the 3 C's that are most important, core values being one of them, chemistry being the other one. But yeah, these 3 C's hopefully will help us navigate this dating pool. So, like I mentioned already, core values are so important. What are core values, right? Is the question as well, maybe for some listeners. Core values would be, questions like what matters most to them? What is their motive in life? What gives meaning to their life, right? What are their values? These are important because if they matter most to them, they matter most to you. And therefore, they should be your priority when you are looking for a partner. If you're someone who values faithfulness, right? Integrity, honesty, compassion. If you're a Christian, if you value ladies or guys, someone who believes in God, this should actually be at the forefront of your mind when you start talking to someone. So yeah, they're laughing, they're cute, whatever. But at the back of your mind, at the front of your mind, you should be asking yourself, do they share the same core values that I do? The other C that's important in the 3 C's is character. This is so important. Because this is who they are when no one is watching people. It can be hard to know someone's true character, but don't just focus on what they tell you or what you can see, but wonder more about what you can't see. Now, I'm not saying be Nancy Drew. Maybe I'm exposing my age here. I don't know if you millennials, do you know about Nancy Drew? I'm not saying be detective and be critical of your partner, but I'm just saying that, be vigilant in noticing certain things about them or, what their friends share or just things that can come out passively or in jokes. If it seems like a red flag, it probably is. And you should dig deeper into whatever you've noticed, whatever is causing you to have a frown on your face or a question mark in your mind. Dig deeper for yourself. Why? Because small things become big things later. So don't ignore those things that you might be concerned about someone's character when you see them. I would also say time tells a lot too. So, give it time before you jump into a committed relationship with someone, just so you can allow yourself to notice as much as you can about them. The last one, which I mentioned before already, chemistry, is also super important. It's super important to enjoy, right, Nicole? Yeah.
Absolutely.
If you want the tall guy, if you want the dark girl, if you want whoever, we all have preferences, right? And it's okay, to want what you want. But, that is not the only thing that you should be looking at. So, yeah, those are my 3 C's: core values, character, and chemistry.
I love that. Absolutely. I think chemistry for sure. There are other subjects in the syllabus. Let's explore other subjects and not focus on that main one. But I absolutely agree that core values are so important when looking for a relationship and looking for somebody to love, and especially even something like intimacy, which I think you mentioned before, things like believing in God, really core things that form the foundation of who you are. Because especially what I've seen in university is that in the process of of getting to know someone for the purposes of entering a romantic relationship, something like intimacy is very important to discuss, especially at the beginning. Why at the beginning, Nicole? It's so awkward. You're absolutely right. I think it's so important to do it at the beginning because there are no feelings involved yet. Feelings can cloud your judgment and allow you to compromise on things you otherwise would not have if you didn't have feelings for this person. Because let's say an average talking stage, or what it should be, is about 3 months. And so at the end of 3 months, you're now asking these deep questions. Do you believe in God? Are you compassionate? What about your family? It's too late. Whatever they say, it's not really going to matter because your feelings are involved. And so something like intimacy is important because if someone has different standards for purity and different standards or expectations in terms of intimacy, it can make a relationship very hard.
So true.
Yeah. So it's just one of those things you must talk about at the beginning because likely someone's going to compromise. And I can place $100 bet that it's gonna be you. If you're anything like me, a Christian girl is saving themselves for marriage. I mean, you're only human. And so the best thing is just not to put yourselves in that position where you have to compromise, even make that decision by outlining these things at the beginning of your relationship. Because what can happen, you might be saying to yourself, but Nicole, I can change him. I can change her. We can compromise and make sure the door is open and always be around people. And maybe you can. But I think that what that does is that it places a certain pressure on a relationship where as a person, you might feel like you need to overperform in other areas as a partner because this one particular area, you can't, meet their needs in that area. So you begin to overperform and no one needs that pressure. Relationships are hard enough. And you will find that person, I'm also saying this to myself, you will find that person who aligns with you in terms of intimacy, in terms of promises that you're making to yourself, because something like deciding to be celibate or deciding to save yourself for marriage needs to be a personal decision. Someone can't become celibate for you because what happens when you leave, what happens when you break their heart, it has to be for them and it has to be a personal decision. Because also when you've compromised yourself, let's say, and you've given up a lot of pieces of yourself to this person, you can then put this person on a kind of a pedestal. You can begin to idealize them and see them in this blind, shining light where they can do no wrong. And idealizing is defined as, regarding or representing as perfect or better than reality. And idealizing is when that thing or that person becomes more important than anything. And as much as wanting a relationship and wanting love is important, it cannot be the most important thing. It cannot be more important than your self-love. It can't be important than self-respect, your relationship with God, your family and friends. And so idealizing is one of those things that can happen when you've compromised yourself. I mean, but what do you think, Tamara?
Absolutely. Literally, that goes right into my second point as well, which is, like you just said, avoid idealizing being with a partner or being in a relationship. I mean, we've seen it everywhere, right? I mean, this is the month of love. We've been seeing couples in the streets, particularly this past 2 weeks, though. Can we talk about that? Where are these couples cropping up in February, though? Anyway,
with my car, that's what's about to happen. You need to be careful.
Wow, girl, leave the lovers alone. But yeah, I mean, love is everywhere, especially this month. You probably clicked on this because you're like, I need to understand my life right now concerning love, right? I'm the same, right? We all want love. It's in movies. It's in music. It's all good. We love love. But however, as much as we want it, it's important that we don't reach the extent that we are idealizing it, like you just said, Nicole.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because now when being in a relationship overrides your personal value, your mental well-being, it is literally no longer serving you, this relationship. Yes, I'm talking to you. This relationship, yeah, you, listener, you're probably like, yeah, maybe your relationship is not serving you anymore, right? But you still insist on being in the relationship. Maybe even your core values, like we mentioned before, are not being shared. And you can clearly see that now. Yeah. What do? Sometimes we stay in these relationships because we actually don't want to not be in a relationship because we've told ourselves, I need to be in this relationship, right? Or maybe you just don't want to be single, or you're just like, oh man, like now I got to stay in this relationship because what are my friends going to say? Yeah. If you're someone else, maybe even at whatever stage, maybe your family knows the person. You're like, what am I going to do if I'm not with this person anymore?
That's
but
so true.
Yeah.
Fear is a big motivator in people staying in relationships that don't serve them. I absolutely agree. Yeah.
Exactly. But it's important to take stock. Am I actually in this relationship because I want to be in this relationship? It's making me happy. It's serving me. Or I'm actually just staying in this relationship because I'm afraid of being alone and I have to be in a relationship, right? So, yeah, that's for people in relationships in terms of idealizing relationships. Then there's a flip side, Nicole. Say flip side.
Flip side.
There's single guys, single girls who are idealizing relationships in singleness, right? You're actually not enjoying your single period because you're watching people who are in the streets loving each other, maybe particularly this month, right? Or you're just like, man, or thinking about your past relationships, thinking about your future relationships, thinking about how you're not in a relationship. Those things can actually distract you from the gift that singleness is. We've been talking about this week, right?
Absolutely. As a couple of single gals.
Yeah. Not sure if you want to still listen to us. You're like, y'all are single. But for real, that's actually the, I don't know, stigma. Maybe that's a heavy word of being single, right? Singleness though, we're gonna turn it around today, right, Nicole?
We're gonna flip side.
Flip side. So singleness is actually a gift, and it's something that you should always prioritize in your life. It is okay and wonderful to be single. It's a time to invest in yourself, to enjoy the hobbies that you have, to enjoy your friendships, to enjoy your family in such a unique way as a single person that you might not actually be able to do as fully when you're in a relationship, you know? So this is a time to find yourself, to enjoy yourself, and yeah, live your best single life. So
I'm all about that. If you are an avid listener of mine, you know I'm all for alone time. I'm all for being able to enjoy time alone and the value of learning about yourself and building relationship with yourself and friendship with yourself in being alone. Because it actually brings me to my next point, Tamara, which is about dating potential. Because, okay, let's say you've idealized this relationship in your head and it hasn't quite come in the form that you want it to. And you meet a person who doesn't necessarily meet all your standards for a relationship, but you want a relationship so much. And then you end up in this fun little place.
dating potential.
You don't want to be there. You don't want to. I've been there. It's not nice that side, guys. It's not nice there. And you might be asking yourself what it is to date potential because you might be there. So dating potential essentially is when you are with someone who you know is not for you. They are incompatible with you, but you are not satisfied with who they are in this current moment, but what you are in the relationship for, or what you are looking to in the relationship, is the potential of who they could eventually become or what they could eventually achieve. And for me, I always ask my friends, you know, when they tell me about someone they like or someone they're interested in, I always do ask, if this person was to not change in the next year or 2 years, if they decided to stay the same person that they are in this very moment, would you still love them? Would you still like them? And you can ask yourself this question. And if your answer is no, I have some bad news. If your answer is no to this question, there is a chance that you are dating that person for potential and who they could eventually be in that year or 2 years.
That's right.
And one thing about potential, one thing is that potential is something that a person can actually never live up to their potential. So unfortunately, it's very possible we don't always live up to the fullness of what we could eventually become. So since you're there for potential, what happens if it's not lived up to? Because that has now become the basis of your relationship, and your love is based on a condition which is not, guaranteed. It's not stable. And to be honest, guys, that person, whoever they are, actually deserves to be loved for who they are in this present moment. The same way,
clicking my fingers.
the same way that you deserve to be loved for who you are in this present moment. And in doing the research for this particular point, I read an article by a lovely lady named Lillian Fallon. And guys, when I was reading this article, it was like a slap in the face every single sentence. Like they were describing my last relationship. Okay, guys, I dated potential. I know. And I was able to realize this because I was reading about it. And I'm hoping that if you're in a similar situation, you can hear about it today and actually realize the position that you are in. And she says essentially that this type of dating is related to rescue dating or savior dating. It's when people take on a relationship as a project. And so when that relationship fails, it can be equated to failing a test or failing at trying to achieve something rather than failing failing at finding the love of your life, which I hope is what we're all trying to do in dating, finding the love of your life. And when you're dating potential, essentially, you find yourself teaching or correcting your partner a lot, teaching them how to love you, correcting them on what they are doing in terms of the relationship. And it puts you on uneven ground. You're no longer equals, you're no longer companions, because one is a teacher and the other is a student. And dating potential can also blind you to red flags, because you're like, even if I'm focused on what I'm trying to achieve here, on building this person to be a better person, those red flags are like any other project, and I will deal with them for that time when the time comes. And so instead of being present in the moment with your partner, instead you are not loving the time you are spending with them, because you are constantly reminded of how they are inadequate, how they are not fitting the bill that you have placed in your head for your standard for a relationship, and you end up being a bit delusional. We can all be a bit delusional.
Somebody say delusional.
Somebody say delusional. We've all been there. But here you are literally daydreaming, and you can find yourself fantasizing about, no, when the relationship finally reaches this place, I'll be happy. Or when this person finally does this or is like this. And those things makes you you're not actively participating in reality. And one thing about delusions, right, is that you'll be in your own world. So this person, whatever they are doing in reality, you're not identifying with that, but you are in love with the person a year from now, who they could be. And what did we say about potential? What did we say, Tamara?
Don't do it.
Don't do it. It's not worth it. And one more thing from this article that I read that was quite a sucker punch, because I said I relate with this particular point, is that dating potential at times can actually be rooted in your own insecurities and lack of self-esteem, because you are settling for someone that you know is incompatible. Because let's be real, you know that they're incompatible. And because of fear of maybe never finding the right person or of being alone forever, which is a very real fear, you end up being in this relationship. And fear is becoming the main motivator. That's the thing that's driving, that's the engine to this vehicle of a relationship. And not love. Love must be the basis for these relationships. And a direct quote from this article, you all should go read it for yourselves. It was truly life-changing.
I saw her face when she was reading this article. It was bad.
I was a changed woman. And a direct quote from her is that true self-esteem comes from knowing that you are made in God's image and that you are already unconditionally loved by Him. And I agree with that 1,000%. I think knowing the root of all love, the true source of real unconditional love, makes your standard for being loved by people even higher. Even loving yourself sets the standard for how you will receive love from other people.
So true.
And so, Tamara, since we're coming to the end of this episode, sadly, would you like to...
So sad. I don't want to leave.
I could talk forever. You guys know me. I could talk forever. But for the sake of convenience, we're coming to the end of this episode. And would you just like to share with us one last point about this issue of love and dating in our 20s?
Yes. So my last point would be date with intention. Now, I know from my 20s gang, this can be hard because you feel like life is just going to go on forever. It's not. Okay, I'm joking. I'm not going to be morose or anything. But yeah, try to date with intention, because as much as it's all fun, dating is fun, right, Nicole? Like, it's fun.
So much fun.
It's fun being attracted to someone, them finding you attractive.
Having a crush. I saw I saw a video that said having a crush literally makes the world go round. And yeah, I don't want to live in reality. I want to have a crush and be delusional. I agree.
Yeah, in reality, she shared that with me like for over 20 minutes about having a crush and how it's so fun. Anyway, yeah, it's fun, to find someone, etc. But I think within that, please just remember that as much as you want to find someone you connect with, keep those points that we've already just mentioned, dating and looking for core values, looking at their character, making sure you're not dating potential, etc. Those things are just so important to keep in your mind as you look for a partner, because listen, the reality is nobody wants a string of heartbreaks, right? Because we all want that forever type of love.
For sure. We all want to get married. We all want to get married.
I want to get married. So yeah, just make sure that, you're not leading yourself to an inevitable heartbreak when you ignore red flags, when you just don't take time to look at their character, their core values, etc. Because in the end, these are the things that cause relationships to end. You finally discover one major red flag, one major area of belief system that you're like, whoa, I can't work with this. So wouldn't it be better to look at that in the first few months of talking, of getting to know someone, making sure that you're looking at those things, because those are the things that cause relationships to end, and we don't want that.
We want that forever love. I know I'm only 22, but y'all can't wait to get married. That's the goal at the end of this. And with that, I think it's also important to note that it's actually okay to want to get married. It's okay to want a romantic relationship.
Absolutely.
It is the intention of dating. I like to believe that it's not just for fun, just to meet people. You already have enough friends. It's not for friends. It's to eventually end up with somebody forever. And I think that it's such a basic human instinct, and a lot of the times not my issue, but something I've observed a lot in regards of talking about self-love is that it's seen as a remedy to not having romantic love. And the message is that, it undercuts the value that romantic relationships hold in a person's life.
So true.
Because I don't think that there's an amount of self-love. I love myself. And I just don't know if there's an amount of self-love that can actually accurately, completely remove that longing for companionship that is found in a romantic relationship. Vice versa, having romantic love shouldn't nullify your need to love yourself. Both must be present in order for a healthy relationship to survive and for it to be there. And so self-love mustn't replace romantic love, because then you'll find yourself in situations where you love another person more than you love yourself. Doesn't that sound crazy? Crazy. And so because you love yourself, it sets a standard for how you receive love from others. You've heard the statement, people love people that love themselves. People respect people that respect themselves, and they will value you because of how they see you valuing yourself. And so when that is missing from a relationship, you're able to notice it. When there's no love there, you can see it's not there because you've given yourself love. When there's no respect there, when there's no value there. And so that's why I think it's so important to just let you know that it's absolutely okay to still want a romantic relationship, and that not also to say that having reached the pinnacle of self-love, that's when you are now awarded a romantic relationship. You now deserve a romantic relationship because you've loved yourself to the max. It is such a journey that will take a lot of your life, probably most of your life. Getting there, you'll have seasons of high, loving yourself so much, and then seasons where you're like, I don't want to talk to this person. That person is you. And so because it is such an up and down journey, it's okay to also still be discovering yourself and still be learning to love yourself while you are in a relationship. And a quote from an article that I read in researching this topic is that being in a loving relationship is not a prize awarded to those whose self-love cup is full. People who are still working on themselves deserve love just as much as people who have done a remarkable amount of work on themselves. But I'm just saying, just don't go in there when you're still on day one of construction. Don't enter a relationship on day one of construction. And another quote from this article, I will link it in the description, I didn't write it down, is that if we waited until we loved ourselves wholeheartedly and had fully come to terms with all of who we are, we would be single forever. So if you are waiting to be this highly self-evolved, loving yourself, valuing yourself to the max before you get into a relationship, it's going to take a while. So that would be my advice. I think that would be my last contribution to this issue of love and relationships. If you are following, we gave about 6 points, so you have a lot to reference. We had a lot to say. And with that, we will now be going into answering some questions that we got from an Instagram poll. If you are not following In Full Bloom Podcast on Instagram, I don't know what to say to you, because you are missing out.
Who are you even following?
I mean, what's going on? What's Instagram even for?
Whoa, come back.
She's bringing it back. But yeah, please do go follow my Instagram page. It's the same name as the podcast name, and I post polls there. And the poll for this week was asking, if people had any questions for me and our guest star about relationships. We got a few responses, and so I think we only have about time to answer 2 of them. And one of them, so eloquently written, is there any hope for marriage amongst millennials and Gen Z? This question, I hear you. the person who sent this in, I absolutely hear you because it's something that I've wondered as well myself. Looking at members of your generation, just a quick glance at the pool in which you are meant to find the head of a home and a father for your children, it can be a little scary. It can be a little disheartening to see what's out there. And this doubt as to whether that person is actually out there is very real. And I think Tamara could answer this question for us.
So this is a really good question. I would say your description of our generations was hilarious. But anyway, yeah, it can be disheartening, I won't lie, to like observe and just feel like, maybe like you're hearing about relationships and how they turned out, or you're just hearing about people's characters, or you're seeing characters in some of your friends of other genders and you're like, whoa. Or even your own personal experience has been difficult thus far. I get it. I'm the same. Literally, Nicole, you know this. I was with someone and I thought it was going to be a forever love. Yeah. And I'm single today. So you know how that went.
Yeah.
But I mean, it happens, right? But I think what we need to remember is that we're not trying to date a whole lot of people. We're not trying to marry a whole lot of people. You're just looking for one. So if you're actually just going to be with one person out of the billions that are going to be there, for sure, it's going to be maybe kind of like a needle in a haystack, because it literally is a haystack and it is a needle. You're just finding one person. But I would say hold on to hope. And there is that person out there for you who is made just for you and who's going to get you. The other thing is, we're also not everybody's cup of tea. We have to remember that, So yeah, you haven't found someone, you're not someone's cup of tea today, but you are going to be with a certain person. And some of these tips are going to be helpful to kind of weed out those people that you don't need to invest your time in, invest your heart in, and actually just work on yourself and wait until you find that person who's going to match the things that are important to you and who you are, and you will find love.
For sure, because we are not all about compromising. I don't even want to know what the word means. That's how far away I want to be from the word compromising on important things like core values, as has been said before. But like I said, I agree with the question. It's also a question that I have as well. And I agree with your answer, Tamara, which is that you're going to just find that it just takes one person. And love and romantic relationships is one of those things where you just have to be right once. It's one of the spaces where failure is so normal and failure is so common. I mean, really, really focusing on it too much is counterproductive. But I think focusing, like what you said, Tamara, on the fact that it only takes being right once, finding that one person who's going to get you, that one person who's going to be for you. And, the riffraff, the dusty 21-year-old boys, don't worry about them. They're not your husband and it's fine. We're going to keep looking. We're going to keep looking until we find them. And so thank you for that answer, Tamara. We will now move on to the second question, which was essentially asking about tips about dating. So these 15 tips are coming from a video that I saw on TikTok/Instagram Reels. As I said, am a law student. I always cite my sources, and TikTok is one of them. I mean, the man was spitting some facts. He was telling the truth. And so the first one of these is how you meet the person is irrelevant. Stop romanticizing a meet cute. Like in the movies, it's raining. She doesn't have an umbrella. You give her your jacket. Yeah.
You drop some books.
Exactly. Let's root ourselves in reality.
Stop dropping books out there, y'all. It's not okay. Second point is, if they ignore you or ghost you, that's hard, but quietly move on. Just take your dignity and go.
The third point is never let a handful of great qualities make you think that everything about them is great. I.e., remove those rose-colored glasses and root yourself in reality. That's the takeaway from a lot of these.
That's right. Fourth point, if you are not clear on the type of person you want, you will spend a lot of time dating unsuitable people. So take stock about what you actually want. What do you want, guy, girl, listening?
Very true. The fifth point is to meet the person that you want to be with, you have to be visible. The love of your life is not going to break into your home while you are on your bed scrolling on your phone. You have to put yourself out there and make yourself visible to potential suitors and potential ladies.
That's right. Sixth point, presentation is really important. Look good, feel good. It's the first step to attraction. So it's okay to look great. And yeah, you're also looking for someone who looks good, right?
Exactly. The seventh point is that your mental health is more important than any relationship. More important than any romantic relationship, any friendship, any acquaintanceship, classmateship. Your mental health should be a priority to you in any relationship that you are entering.
Yep. Eighth point, how someone treats you. Newsflash is how they feel about you. If they act like they don't care, then it's probably because they don't care. I'm going to double click this for the ladies because we are so patient most of the time. But if he's not treating you well, leave. Guys, same things for the girls.
Absolutely. The ninth point is that if someone can steal your partner, then they have done you a massive favor because the right person cannot be stolen. You can't steal a person. Yeah.
Let them go. 10th point, cheating begins in the DM. Just because they haven't touched another person or more that's not where the cheating begins. The cheating begins in hiding texts, in acting different, acting weird, entertaining other people, not having clear boundaries with other people.
Absolutely. The 11th point is that you are single until it's exclusive. Don't take yourself off the market prematurely. If you know me in my personal life, you know that this is a passage of scripture that I preach regularly. Please, especially if you're in university, do not take yourself off the market. Do not become a wife where you are not a wife. Do not give girlfriend duties, boyfriend duties where they have not been asked of you. Because don't let that talking stage stop you from finding the person that you are meant to be with, because it might not be them.
Yeah, don't find yourself, just to continue on that point, don't find yourself in a 4-year relationship and you're actually still not clear where it's going. Yeah. That is time investment that is going in the wrong place. Save your time. It's valuable. 12th point, if you wouldn't be friends with the person you're dating, the relationship is probably built on infatuation and physical attraction. And newsflash, it's just not going to last.
Absolutely. You know, they always say the person you're with is supposed to be your best friend. So if they are not, yeah, you need to go find a new bestie. The 13th point is that rejection is inevitable. Not everyone is going to be right for you, and you're not going to be right for everyone. As I've said before, it only takes one person. You just have to be right once.
That's right. 14th point. Don't believe in promises. What the person's saying. Look at what their actions are, because those actually reveal their true intentions.
The 15th point, and probably one of the most important points, is that there is someone out there for you, and the only way you will find them is if you don't quit.
Let's say that again. If you don't quit.
For sure. Love is a game. You gotta stay in the game. You can't count yourself out, because like we said, that right person is out there for you. And if you are alone this Valentine's Day, we're actually recording this on Valentine's Day.
Hey.
Yeah, talk about a great Valentine's Day, am I right? If you're alone this Valentine's Day, don't think, every Valentine's Day I'll be alone. Have faith, my sister. Have faith, my brother, because that will move mountains. Hallelujah.
Come on. Preach, somebody.
And with that, we have come to the very end of today's episode. I never want this to end. Tears streaming down our faces. As you can tell, we've had a great time discussing this topic. Thank you so much, Tamara, for coming here and sharing your wisdom and, letting us in on your thoughts. We really appreciate all the gems you have had to say today.
Appreciate your gems too, little sister, and love being in your room as always /studio.
Yes, my room is my studio. It's a nice room. But yes, you've come to the end of the episode. Thank you so much for listening, and if you've stayed this long, you are a real one. And please do also follow my social media pages. I'm now on YouTube as well, so you just search In Full Bloom Podcast or click any of the links on my Instagram page, which you should already be following. And also feel free to leave me a comment or a like or your thoughts on today's episode in the comment section of whatever listening platform you are using. And with that, I really hope that enough of what I said made sense for you to come back and listen to another episode. With that, stay growing, stay glowing, and as always, stay blessed. I will catch you in the next episode.